podcast, fresh off his huge win at CES 61 this past Wednesday. Nick, 7-3. Nick JC Alley with a huge, I don't want to say upset, but
I got you.
You know what I mean? Big win, brother.
Tapology had it 96% he was going to win, and I think it was like 92% of that said that they were going to knock me out in the first round. So you can call it an upset. I don't give a shit, however you want to call it.
Excellent, man. We're a couple of days removed from that fight, brother. Biggest fight and biggest win of your career, man. How's the body feeling, and how's the mind and everything else going right at this moment?
Oh, I mean, obviously I feel great. I didn't really take any damage at all. He hit me he got me with one good calf kick in the third round that kind of locked a little bit of my shin up there for a day or two, but everything's good to go now.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned just that calf kick. The first round he was throwing some really some big shots, but you were ducking, getting out of there, moving very well in there, man. How'd you feel against him, and what was your thoughts as you were squaring off in that cage?
I felt really stiff, to be honest with you. I'm happy that I won. Never satisfied with my performance as a whole. I landed a couple really good leg kicks in the first round, and then he ended up catching one and getting on top of me. He did a good job pretty much in the first round stopping all of my jiu-jitsu, my offense from my back. But the counter to that is, you don't really – that means you yourself don't get to put up too much of an offense. So I was able to stop him doing any real damage to me. I worked a couple submissions when I had the opportunity, but, the first round was really the only spot where he had me in his position to do damage. I was able to get out of it. The big overhand right that he threw when we broke up and got a little bit of space, I was able to block. So overall, pretty good.
Awesome performance. I mean, throughout the whole fight. That first round, you had them leg kicks, and it seemed like, he caught that one, but he seemed content staying in your guard and not really staying active and just being on the defense. You were trying to get them submissions and get some sweeps with the butterfly in there. The dude's strong as hell. You could tell how strong he was just by, how he could keep his base there, and you weren't able to sweep him or really get up or cage walk. How'd you feel in his guard or him in your guard?
Well, I knew he was a really good wrestler. I think the biggest thing with him was not give me a lot of opportunities to be offensive off my back, which he did. Really good base. So I expected that. I was a little bit, in retrospect, I took a little bit more time on the ground than I probably should have been a little bit more assertive, trying to move around and make some space in the first round. That's, I think, what cost me losing that first round. But overall, I felt fine. I didn't feel like there was any point where I was out of control. I mean, I train with, murderers in jiu-jitsu, really good wrestlers, so I'm used to that kind of pressure.
Yeah, and your cardio and just the way you looked in there, Nick, we were talking about it in between rounds. Gotti looked tired coming out of that first round. You looked fresh, and it paid its dividends because in the second round you really started picking it up in there, and you did get control of them. A couple of real good scrambles, couple of changes in there, but you remained in control and you did some damage to Gotti that we've never seen in a fight before.
Yeah, the second round I was able to start opening up strikes a little bit. I knew for the most part everybody thought my game plan was probably to do what ended up happening, but I mean I didn't shoot a takedown until the third round. I didn't care where the fight took place. I was content on the feet. That's why I stayed on the feet in the second round. I was able to land some decent shots. I was able to slip off, get a 3 to the body, and then another right hand up top, and I was able to duck his counter hook. I got a couple of the counter left hooks in there. He threw a good left body kick that I was able to block. He threw a good left hook to the body after I hit him to the liver. He countered back with one. I was able to block it mostly. I mean, some of it did get through. It definitely was like, okay, I got to respect it. He's still in his game. But I was able to get some clinch and knee work on the cage. He got another takedown. I was able to get that butterfly hook, get right back up, throw some knees and elbows on the break. So it was good to be able to show people that, I do a lot more than just jiu-jitsu. I do strike. I will fight you in the clinch. I will, I am willing to wrestle. So it was a good showing, I feel like, in the second round for sure.
Definitely. And Joe Lozon was talking about that along with Mike there when the commentators of the night, they were talking about how, you were hitting all levels of MMA in there. You weren't just, one dimensional. You were mixing it up when you got loose in that second round. You just started taking over. Did you feel Gotti kind of losing steam? Because it seemed like you were just taking away his ear, and you were keeping the foot on the pedal like you spoke pre-fight.
I didn't, to be honest with you, and Ross Levine and I covered this a little bit. I probably should have been on the gas a little bit more, to be honest with you, with the strikes. In there, I didn't really ever feel like he was fading. I could tell he was tired, but there was never anything that made me think that he was out of the fight, because there was positions where on the second round, like where I got on top and I wasn't able to mount any sort of like real big damaging offense, because every single time I would go to posture or go to move, he was diving back in for underhooks, trying to get back in, trying to make it a scramble. So he was doing the right stuff. I had to counter the right thing. So there was never a point where I felt like, yeah, I had this in the bag. I really had to make sure that I stayed on point the whole time, because somebody being tired. How many times do we see it in the UFC? Somebody's tired and they end up, because somebody gets lazy, gets clipping them, and I wasn't about to let that happen.
And that was, you were going in there even into that third round. So it was anyone's fight at that time. And, you are going against Gotti, kind of the CES guy there. So you really had to, leave no doubt out there that round was a dominant round.
Yeah, so and that's you're 100% right. I definitely made sure I had to make sure that I put a stamp on it. I'm lucky that the way that I fight has like always been gas. I don't care if it's the first round, second round, third round. Like, I'm trying to finish no matter what round it is. I don't give a shit. If I have an opportunity to try to win, I'm going to try to end it right there. Like, there was a time where in the third round, he took me down and I was able to get a triangle. I went for that as hard as I could. I don't know how, and that's just more proof that kid's super tough, because the first time I got that triangle in, I was like, all right, yeah, this is it. And then he was able to get through it. I'm like, okay, I was able to get a little bit more perpendicular, really lock it up. And I was like, okay, definitely this is it. And he was still able to get through it. So there was never any point where he was, out of that fight.
Excellent, which made it an incredible fight, Nick. As far as what you, this was your first fight with no crowd. What was that experience? Ed's loud as it is, but now he's super throwing them, them instructions to you, man. How did that feel? And did you hear him? And were you able to listen to him and go through the game plan?
Well, to be honest with you, it was funny. We joked. Ed and Ross and I joked about it. I didn't hear them at all, but what they were saying was that everything they were telling me to do, I was doing, which I think really just goes to show how in tune we are, with each other and the way we fight. Because, I've known Ed since the day that I started training in mixed martial arts. He's been my coach. And, I've known Ross at this point, we were talking about it. He's been there since, when I fought JT Harold as an amateur, and even before that. And he's been to all of my fights. So they were so in tune that, sometimes they give me instructions and it's already a thought that's in my head. So it just flies off so seamlessly. It's so nice to have that kind of corner work. So I didn't really notice not having a crowd too much. I try to stay as zoned in as I can.
Well, it definitely showed. In that fight, you were focused, you were on game plan, and you just did everything correct in that fight to get the upset in there. As far as the process, Nick, it was your first experience with the COVID and all that other stuff. Yeah. It looked like CES put on a great show. It was beautiful in there. As far as what you've seen on camera, it was no fans, no real media in there, but from the outside watching that fight pass, it looked like a gorgeous gorgeous place in there, man. How'd it feel fighting under that tent?
No, CES did an amazing job with that. And especially the fact that they had to set it up on recently. I said recently, but on fairly short notice because it was originally scheduled for a different day.
Yeah.
And then they had to change the day, change obviously all that's associated with that, change the hotel, the fighters, get everybody there, make sure all the medicals were done, the weigh-in stuff got all taken care of. So, I mean, hats off to CES. They really put on a killer show with, I mean, that card was stacked.
Yeah.
That card was stacked. You know what I mean? Like Mitch Raposo, Chris Montino, everybody else. I'm like blanking out right now. Obviously, Fabs, Tyler King, all those guys. Is it Jamel Jones? Is it Janelle Jones? I feel terrible.
Yeah, that was his opponent. I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Jones.
Oh. And I mean, and then they put on fights like Chris Montino and Ashika Jim. That fight was incredible, dude. That kid's a savage.
Well, here's the thing, Nick. It shows how hungry you guys were. Guy, coming out of getting that first fight in and getting on Fight Pass, you want to put on a show, and you guys did. I mean, there was no easy task. There was no easy fight that night. The fights were matched perfectly. It was a great event. It looked, there was a lot
Connor Matthews, that's what I'm forgetting. Sorry, my bad to Connor Matthews. That was another. It was a good performance on his end too.
Excellent. As far as Nick now, man, you came away with the biggest fight of your career. We talked about, there has to be shine coming your way now because that's a big fight. Nick, has anyone, have you been hitting up for interviews? What's going on with has anything changed since this fight?
No, nothing's changed, man. I did one interview. You're my second interview. It's kind. I'm not, and I like to not be negative, but I like to be real. Nothing changed for me really. It doesn't matter who I fought. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter that it was John Gotti. It could have been anybody else. So whatever's next for me is as soon as I can really compete again. Obviously, COVID's killing everybody, so we don't really know what options are on the table. I'd like to fight again while I'm still in good shape and still healthy. So I don't really know. I don't know really like exact dates or any. I don't know any beans to give you.
That's all right. That's enough.
As soon as I do, I'll be excited. Trust me. I'll let everybody know.
Excellent. Well, your next fight, Nick, is going to be a big fight, whether it's for CES, Bellator, or even a bigger stage, which is your ultimate goal. You're 7-3 now, Nick. You took out a fighter, an undefeated fighter that was just tearing people apart. Who, with this win over you, would have definitely been on the contender or had something to do with the UFC. I mean, you're 7-3, dude. You're a veteran. You're a young guy. You just took out an undefeated guy. So there's big things coming your way, and you damn well deserve everything that you're gonna get.
I'm hoping so, man. Listen, I'm gonna enjoy it when it gets here. I'm gonna keep working like it never comes because that's the only way that I can think about it. You know what I mean?
Excellent, man. Great weekend for the Team Link family. Cameron came away the big win.
Big shout out there. Yeah. Big shout out to my man Cameron. Lots of man going out there looking like a madman at Bellator, walking down, hands down like that. Kids are freak.
Hey,
and still coming up with the win
yes.
too, and still coming out with a tough win. Him and I were both counted out this weekend. Everybody thought that I was going to lose. There was people on Twitter saying, "Oh, you make sure you bet against Cameron Lachlan." Friends of his saying bet against him. So it was definitely a big weekend for him and I.
Excellent, man. Well, congratulations on all your success, Nick. Couple of big fights in 2020. Your biggest one a couple of days ago. Dude, shout outs, anything you want to say before I let you go? I know you're going to have other interviews coming, but, get personal and shout it out, bro.
Of course, man. Well, obviously, Steve, thank you. Well, I got you in front of me. I appreciate you guys sending us that care package with the shirts. That stuff was fantastic, dude. I really appreciate that, man. I know you don't care, but it means a lot to us anyway. Shout out to my team, my head coach Ed Carr, my jiu-jitsu coach Brent Kinberger. I got Jay Fortier, obviously Ross Levine for coming out and cornering me. All my team down at Pride, everybody supporting me. My team back home, Ken Murphy, Dylan Crowley, Geraldo, all the main guys that were there helping me just get ready for this fight. Walter, Catito, Joey, Gomez, everybody at the gym. There's a laundry list of all the usual suspects. My management, obviously, Sean Rockwell at Prime. Trisha Cornell, my nutritionist, who, again, I'll say, dude, anybody that has a problem making weight, talk to Trisha Cornell. Like, save yourself the hassle. Don't worry about it. Focus on the fight. Get with her. She'll change your life. Dude, she's been hands down one of the best additions to my camp that I have. my sports psychologist, Caleb Rogers, he's the man at Mental Sensei. You know, him and I talk a lot. He was a huge help. He was really able to unlock a lot of stuff that I never really felt like I was missing, but I always felt like I had some issues like cultivating. He was able to bring out a lot and really change a lot. And then obviously the Apex hemp oil, they always do my CBD products. Impact mouth guards, they always help me out with getting mouth guards in. I got a list.
You're gonna have even more the next fight, Nick.
I know. The longer this goes on, the more I'm gonna forget, and the worse I'm gonna feel.
That's when you just lift up that sign at the end of the interview. You just lift up a sign.
Right. I'll start wearing jackets looking like I'm from NASCAR or something like that.
Last question, Nick. Did Ed Carr cry after this fight?
Of course he did.
I knew it.
I leaned over to him and I was like, "Yo, Ed, listen, we're on TV. Stop crying."
I love it, man.
He's my man, dude. He's my man.
Yeah.
What can I say? He'll cry, but then he'll rip your arm off. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So
exactly. That tears lasted like a minute in the back room. He's probably already telling you to get back there.
Yeah.
All right, my man, Nick. Thank you so much, man. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the win, and we'll catch up with you on what's next.
So
Right?
Shout out to Union Square Donuts. Let's hook up with that sponsorship. I'm trying to get you every single time. Listen, somebody from Union Square better see this. Every single time I win a fight, I go down there. That's my tradition.
I'm gonna tag him in it. I'll tag him in this interview. They'll sure to see it, brother.
Bro, I got a dozen today. Are you kidding me? Oh.
All right, my man. Nick at 195 catch weight. Next fight, man.